Today I'm here to talk about Flex Pro Meals. It's kind of a meal prep service. It's not so much like a TV dinner. You get a little bit of a pre-cooked prep meal that you just throw in the microwave for, sometimes a minute and 30 seconds to 2 minutes and 30 seconds. And as you can tell, maybe I'm a larger gentleman. I'm about 6'4", anywhere between 480 and maybe 5'10". So I'm a bigger guy. Lately I've been, working Monday through Friday, get off work. It's 5 o'clock, let the dogs out, spend some time with the dogs. If I've got to cook, maybe I have to do some dishes beforehand. I have to prep everything, cook it. Then by the time I'm done cooking, I clean a little bit, we eat. We're looking at the evening's over. I get home at 5, and by the time I'm done with the dogs, cooking, eating, and cleaning, it's easily 8 or 9 o'clock. And depending on who you are, that's essentially your bedtime. Like you're about to start winding down and go to sleep. So I had the idea recently to kind of cut that time out and try to figure out ways of kind of circumventing the cooking, the cleaning, the prepping. It's not that I don't like to cook. My time is just very limited. So if I can squeeze out 1, 2, even 3 hours a day, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times a week, we're talking about essentially an entire full day every week that I'm able to have to do what I want to do. So that's what mainly got me into the thought process of trying to find something to kind of cut that work out. And like I said earlier, I'm a bigger gentleman. I'm morbidly obese, scientifically, medically speaking. And it's not so much that I want to lose weight and get a beach bod and shrink down. I've had 2 reconstructive knee surgeries on the same knee. I've had, I've got shoulder problems. I've got a permanently torn rotator cuff that I'm too obese to have surgery on. So it just continues to get torn and ripped. And even every little bit of healing, all it takes is one issue and we're back to square one. So I figured I'm getting close to that middle age. I'm 34, I'll be 35. So for some people, that's about middle age. So I'm looking at myself and I'm thinking, well, we're not trying to have a beach bod. I'm not trying to be a bodybuilder, but I would like to at least be able to take care of myself in my older age. Get up, bathe myself, wipe my ass. I'd like to be able to do that as long as I live. So that was another reason that I started looking into like meal prep services, not only to save time and convenience, etc., but to help me with portion control and to force the macros, as they say, in my face. And if you ask me, macros is a bit of a buzzword people throw around to just, oh, well, that's got to be healthy. I mean, look at these macros. They got macros. All that means is literally just your calories, your fat, like your carbs, like that. That's literally all that is. And speaking of which, there are a couple things about Flex Pro meals that I do have to say. One, first of all, the one thing I will say that I do not like, and I plan on going through pretty much every meal I've tried, giving you a little bit of a review of each, but the main thing I don't like is they're very deceptive in the way they get you and hook you. What I mean is you see all these ads, you see all these listings, and it's 40% off, 40% off. You go, you look, oh, it's 40% off. If, and they don't make this clear, if you commit to 4 full weeks. They don't show you, at the end of 4 weeks, your price will be. They don't show you anything. You every week you're charged. I ordered the large meals, as I'm sure you can guess. I tried to have like 3 per day and tried to focus on for at least a week having that as each and every meal. I will say it did help me with my portion control. The first week at 40% off, I believe for the large meal with shipping came to about $146. Now, me personally, I spend on average, if I go grocery shopping about once every 2 weeks, and I'll spend around $200. The way I'm looking at it is $140 a week. It's more expensive, but again, we're paying for the convenience, we're paying for the time we're saving, and we're paying for a meal to be delivered to our front door that we can essentially have ready to eat in 90 seconds to 2 minutes. If you want that deal, if you want the 40% off, you have to go on and commit to 4 weeks. Now, those other 3 weeks aren't at $146, $150. Those weeks, you only find this out when you start to set up your next week of meals. The price goes from, even with the lifetime discount for making that commitment, the price is well over $200. And $200 a week, even if you're eating Flex Pro meals and only Flex Pro meals, $200 plus a week is outrageous. It's outrageous in my opinion. And some people might complain about the portions. Obviously, I like to eat a lot. So for me, some of the meals were a bit small, a bit on the lighter end, even though they were the large meals. But some of them were fine. One we're going to look at here in a second is actually the Pitmaster combo. It's surprisingly okay. It has different types of meat. It probably has the most meat of any of the meals. It's got this really like awesome like corn cheese salsa shit in there. It's fantastic. The meals come in a box very similar to this. It's a regular box. It's just got some nice insulation in it. They throw an ice pack, your meals, ice pack, ice pack, ice pack. As you can see, the box, especially with overnight shipping, is going to take a beating. I apologize for the green screen, but this is one of the meals. This is the Nana's Gnocchi. And one thing that frustrates me, for a company that's so proud and adamant about showing macros, having macros, helping you with your macros, but for a company that is so adamant about showing macros, it literally shows the carbs, the fat, protein, and calories, and that is it. You don't see saturated fats. You don't see the percentage of sodium, how many milligrams. You don't get any nutritional value other than your macros, your net carb, not your total carbs, your net carbs, your protein, your fat, and your calories. That's it. Now, again, obviously, I'm not the most healthy eater, but if they're not showing you something, if they make a point of showing you some information and purposefully obfuscating other information, there's probably a reason for that. A lot of the criticism you hear about this food is that, oh, it's highly processed, it's full of sodium. I'm not going to say whether that is or isn't true, but I will say there is a reason they don't have a full nutritional value chart on any of their products. You're not able to see sodium, saturated fat, cholesterol. There are so many things that on any other item you pick up from a store, literally any item, you can go pick up some spices and it will have more nutritional facts than these macro friendly meals. Now, again, this is the large. It's probably about a pound, maybe a pound and a half. It feels hefty. I will say, for anybody, again, I'm a bigger guy, and even for me, we'll say we got 21 of these meals. Out of 21, probably 15 of them took every bit of strength I had in my body to pull this little tab and peel this off. I don't know what adhesive they use on these meals, but my God, you could build a ship that would fly to Mars with it. Somebody call Elon Musk immediately. This shit is like space age technology. It is damn near impossible to get off. It's so impossible to get off. The first time I had one, I spent about 2 minutes trying to peel it off before I got a knife and just started hacking the son of a bitch to death. It was a mess. It was a mess. This is the Pitmaster combo. I apologize for the green screen kind of clipping through there, but we've got a little bit of like pulled pork. We've got some what you would maybe consider like brisket here. A little bit of it's kind of like a pickled red cabbage, and then there's the badass like corn cheese salsa stuff. This is one of the better ones, and as you can see, you get more meat from this one than you do any of the other meals by far. So now that we've taken a look at the prepackaged meals and the heated and ready to eat version of them, I just want to go over a few of the meals and kind of what I thought, just a genuine like review of just somebody who's never partaken in any sort of service like this, and just my initial thoughts. Another thing with the Pro plan is they force you to get a snack. Their most popular one seems to be the peanut butter balls. I will say if you get those, it comes with 6 total, 2 that are like chocolate chip and pretzel, one that's just the peanut butter balls with chocolate, and another one that's like, you know, got like off-brand M&Ms. Me personally, I think the M&M one is leaps and bounds better. The chocolate chip one is a bit too oaty and dry when it comes to the peanut butter ball. And I'm not a big pretzel guy unless we're talking like soft pretzels or like some Schneider's bits, bites, whatever. So for me, the combination of the dry pretzel with the oats and the kind of dryness of the peanut butter ball were like fucking awful. Awful. So right off the bat, I would say if you do take the risk and try at least the 40% off, one way you're able to keep from being charged that, I mean, it's kind of widely known if you look at any of their listings, advertisings, any of their videos, everybody seems to just be canceling their credit card. If it's not something they want, they're just canceling that card immediately and saying, fuck you, because it seems like there's a bit of a difficulty in canceling. And it seems like once you make that commitment for 4 weeks, they're not going to cancel you before those weeks essentially pass. But the first meal we had was actually the Fiesta Lime chicken. And if I'm not mistaken, every chicken they have in all their dishes is the sous vide chicken that they sell by like, I believe the pound. And it's not that it's bad. It's just that it turns, one of their big selling points is, spicing things up, so many meals to choose from. But the problem is when you have so many ingredients that are cooked the same separately, that you get like continual flavors through every meal. The Fiesta Lime chicken was actually surprisingly good. And again, it is another one, obviously a lot of rice, etc. But it's another one that has the most quantity of food out of the dishes. If you like Santa Fe rice, beans with a little bit of chicken and cheese, maybe some peppers, it's one I would recommend. Let's be honest, it's kind of hard to fuck that up. That's one that I got 2 of. They also had I believe it was called like a Carolina barbecue. I forget exactly the name of it, but it had, if you're from the South, this is something you may have tried, as I'm sure you can tell I am. They had some pulled pork. It was nice. One of the other main things, that had some baked beans with ground beef in them. And I have to say, they were actually pretty good, but a lot of that comes from just, baked beans or sweet, decent meat, a little bit of barbecue sauce. So again, it's not something that you can easily fuck up. The one complaint I have about the Carolina barbecue is that it had very little meat comparative to some of the other ones, especially the one I showed you earlier, the Pitmaster combo. It has a fraction, a third, a quarter of the meat as some of the other meals available. The Mongolian beef. It was one of the more petite meals, we'll say, but I have to admit, the broccoli, where it wasn't frozen and unthawed and microwaved, the broccoli was nice and crisp. And there were a few pieces of the meat that, and this is how you can kind of tell it's possibly processed, that, they're little cubes of meat, similar to what the Pitmaster looked like. But some of them were really good. It's obviously, you can tell it's not prime cuts of meat. But then there were other pieces that were literally just whole chunks of fat and gristle. And that actually happened throughout a lot of the meals. And if you're paying $200+ a week, that's kind of unacceptable in my opinion. They had some carnitas, and normally I love like carnitas with verde sauce. It's essentially like a roasted pork with rice. And I love cilantro. I know certain people have an issue with cilantro where it tastes very soapy and they're not able to eat it. If that's who you are and you have that issue, do not get the carnitas. Even for me personally, as somebody who loves carnitas, loves verde sauce, loves cilantro, it was too much and left a weird aftertaste in my mouth for like an hour after. Like, I've occasionally you'll like burp and have a little bit of the taste come up. Oh, it was rough. It was rough. One of the next meals I had was the Meat Lovers pasta. It's one that they show in a few of their advertisements. And for what it is, it's actually good. Like, it tastes good, but I think it had like 5 pepperonis, 4 meatballs, and like 7 noodles, like 7 actual noodles. And I want to say a bit of ricotta. So, I mean, if you have dairy issues, it might be a bit hard on your stomach. I eat a lot. I eat a lot of shitty things, but I don't often get heartburn. There were a few of the meals, a few that I marked particularly, that did give me some pretty rough heartburn. And it was the Flex Pro meals because, like I said, I had made it a point to try and eat these and only these outside of like water and a few other things that I had to fix before they went bad. Something I'm going to bring up real quick because this next meal is one I had an issue with. I'm again new to this whole meal prep, delivery, etc. I have, however, eaten many microwavable meals in the past. At no point in time have I ever had a microwave. I've had meals where you have to open the box, flip it over. There's a little metallic pad. You put it on there. It helps it get, crispy. I've had those before, but one problem, I don't know if you can see it right here. You can see the pad right there. If you've ever gotten a steak or chicken breast, you know the pads, like the butcher pads at the bottom of your, chicken breast, etc. For some reason, I'll never know. They have multiple meals with these pads stuck on the bottom of them. And it doesn't make you aware of this before you microwave it. So the first time I ate one of these and stuck a fork down into a fucking pad, like, I thought it was a manufacturer issue. And again, I mentioned this earlier, how peeling the seal off is so hard. One of the meals I actually had this pad that got stuck under the seal. And when I pulled it off, it ripped the whole pad out because that whole side was pressed into the seal and poured the whole meal out. Like a flaming hot meal fresh out of the microwave just dumped in my lap. So I don't get this. I don't understand why they do it. It does not seem to aid in the heating process whatsoever. It, in my opinion, makes it cumbersome and weird to eat, especially most of these had like rice or sauces, gravies, things like that are getting all up in the padding. The reason I bring this up is because the next meal I had was the chicken chorizo paella. And normally I love paella. It's fantastic. And at first this was, but like I said, as I continued to eat it and get closer to that pad, I started getting the best way to describe it is I started getting like a very medical taste in my mouth, an extremely like medical aftertaste. Obviously I finished eating the meal and it, outside of that aftertaste, it wasn't bad. But again, why are those pads in the meals? What benefit does that do? Like I said, it doesn't seem to aid in any sort of the heating process. I don't understand why they have those meals in there and why they don't let you know. Like I showed the label earlier, all it says is at the bottom, microwave for X amount of time. It doesn't say punch holes here or remove this or remove that. Simply just microwave. Another meal I had is the balsamic steak. I have to say the meat itself wasn't bad, but again, we had the same problem with, we'll say there are 10 pieces of meat. 3 of them are literally just chunks of fat, just giant chunks of fat and gristle. And this was another one that had a pad at the bottom of it. And the steak came with a side of potatoes. Now, I've never had potatoes like these. I've never had mashed potatoes with like almost blanched or sauteed spinach leaves in it. It texturally and mouthfeel wise, it was almost repulsive. But obviously, Southern, I like mashed potatoes, I like spinach. And once you get used to it, once you get used to the way it feels in your mouth, because it is a bit shocking if you've never had it before, it's actually pretty good. The mashed potatoes were. But again, like I said, imagine eating mashed potatoes off a meat cutter's pad. It's weird, it's inconvenient, and honestly, it's just, especially if you eat from under the pad or something gets stuck under the pad, it just leaves an awful aftertaste. I cannot understand why they did that. Next, we have the smothered chicken and rice. And you just say that and it sounds good. But as I mentioned earlier, all of the chicken in any and every recipe you try, it seems to be the same sous vide chicken that they sell. And what happens with that, again, is depending on what its surroundings are, the chicken itself is a bit bland. And where it's sous vide, it's not like a grilled chicken or a pan fried chicken that like you bite and it comes apart. It's more of like a consistency of a pulled chicken, but it's a little bit stringier and at times can get like a little chewy. So, I mean, overall, the smothered chicken I would say was probably towards the bottom when it came to flavor and taste, but it was one that had a fair amount of food in it. I will say that. They also have a carnival steak, and it's very similar to the carnitas we mentioned earlier, in that even though I love cilantro, it was too much. It left a horrible taste in my mouth. I would not recommend anybody at any, I don't care if you like Mexican food, if you like cilantro, do not waste your money on the carnival steak. It is horrible. It left a taste in my mouth for easily an hour. And as we were saying earlier, we have the Pitmaster combo. It is one of the heftier meals. These cubes of steak, like I'd mentioned before, occasionally you will catch one that is just absolutely nothing but fat and gristle. This one is actually, at a glance, doesn't look like it's going to have that issue. But the Pitmaster combo is probably, especially because cost wise, you're going to be paying the same. The Pitmaster combo is probably the most recommended I have. It's just, it's got the most meat. I would say probably the most flavor. That corn cheese salsa shit, man, I could drink that stuff. They also had a jumping chicken meal. And this is another issue they have. They don't really explain the recipes very much. Because for me, I hear jumping chicken, I think like a jerk, spiciness, something like that. But in actuality, you fix it and it's very Thanksgiving like, extremely Thanksgiving like. It has the same sous vide chicken with like a brown gravy. It had a very similar taste to like turkey and gravy on Thanksgiving Day. It also came with the mashed potatoes we mentioned earlier that have like the blanched or sauteed spinach in them. And again, it's not something I'd ever had before. I don't know of anybody actually doing that. But once you get over the feel in your mouth, like the mouth feel of eating mashed potatoes and there being like a leaf in the middle of it, it's actually pretty good. The jumping chicken is very nostalgic when it comes to Thanksgiving, and the mashed potatoes aren't bad. It's not necessarily one I would recommend, but I can't really shit on it too much. And that brings us to the Cajun Alfredo. Now, as a small child, literally when I was in like second grade, I had a horrific incident with some Alfredo. So Alfredo's been like touchy for me. It was fettuccine Alfredo, and I've only actually, hell, within the last probably 3 to 4 years, started being able to like smell Alfredo and not physically get sick. But this Cajun Alfredo, I'm not gonna lie, it was substantially better than I thought it was gonna be. It's probably 2 or 3 behind the Pitmaster if I had to give rankings. The one thing I really, really liked about this dish is it had more meat and sauce than it did noodles. Now, some people might like it the opposite way, but it just really worked for this. So I've got to say the Cajun Alfredo was actually pretty good. And this brings us to the enchiladas. Now, I will say, looking at them at a glance in your hand, they look like a joke. It looks like it's going to taste like absolute shit, but they're pretty good. I will say, for the way they look and what you expect, it is much better than you think it's going to be. Now we go to the Chipotle bowl. Now I want to say this was more quinoa, if I'm not mistaken, instead of rice. And it wasn't bad. Overall, it was above average when it came to like the average meal, the taste, the portions. It had pretty good portions, a nice little heft to it. Again, these are all the large meals, the more expensive ones. So it's one that if you like quinoa, it's one that I would recommend. And let's be honest, quinoa is a nice little textural change from rice from time to time. So if you are eating these a lot and do plan on going, the Flex Pro meal route, I would recommend getting that just to kind of mix it up a bit, because they do rely heavily on rice, chicken, fill in the blank. Now we go to the Texas hash. This is going to be the last one I've eaten right now. And I have to say, again, the same chicken, a bit chewy and stringy. With the sous vide chicken, it's just a bit chewy and stringy. But I have to say, overall, they had some potatoes in this Texas chicken hash, and the potatoes were a bit on the firm side, but they were still very edible, flavorful. I would have to say it was probably one of the best. Easily top 5 is the chicken hash. Now, overall, I personally am not going to continue with Flex Pro. Mostly it's because of just financially, I don't think it's worth it. I don't think the product you receive is worth $200 a week, roundabout. Also, don't like that you have no clue how much sodium, saturated fat, or cholesterol is in any one of their meals. From my understanding, there is nowhere you can go and see a full breakdown of the nutritional values. I don't like that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and act like I ate healthy before. I'm a very morbidly obese man. You have to eat a specific way to get this way. I'm not going to act like I was specifically going out of my way to eat low sodium foods. But like I said, if I'm going to spend the money and take the time to do a meal prep delivery service, I want it to be worth my money, and I want it to at least be somewhat healthy. I want it to be healthier than what I'm currently doing. And those are the main goals that I want out of like a prep delivery service. I'm not sponsored, as I'm sure you can tell by Flex Pro, nor do I want to be. After this, I was looking into a few others. A few that come to mind are Cook Unity is something a lot of people have really recommended to me. Another one is Factor. Now, the difference between the two is Cook Unity seems to be more of what I want, in that it's a meal that is prepared, not frozen, and you can like put it in the oven or some shit like that. Like, even if it's not cooked, if it's in a container, and if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know down below, because what I'm looking for, what I would love, is something that's not frozen, that's as, relatively fresh as possible, that is in a container I can cook it in and eat it in. If that's sliding it in an oven, waiting 30-40 minutes, pulling it out, letting it cool down, eating it, or if that's throwing it in a microwave, that's fine. But I'm leaning with Cook Unity over Factor, because if I'm not mistaken, Factor freezes all of their meals. And I mean, it's one of those things, like, if you want a TV dinner, just go get a smart one or some shit like that, But sorry if I rambled on a little bit. This is the first kind of review I've done for one of these, but I appreciate you guys stopping by. Hopefully this can kind of, I don't want to necessarily say deter, but better inform anybody who's thinking of taking this leap. If you want to try the first week for 40% off, I'm sure you can find the code somewhere. You can only do it with the Flex Pro plan, and that requires the 4-week commitment. If you want to try it, a shady thing that people have been doing, and you can go and see many people admitting to this on their Facebook posts, their ads, etc., just cancel your card. It's a bit inconvenient for the following week, especially if you don't have access to money in any other way. But if you want to try it at 40% off, go for it and just cancel your card the second the delivery hits, or wait, see if you like it, see if it's something you want to continue. And like I said, I know we're paying a premium for the convenience and for the saving of hours and hours of time, and that's my main goal here, is to save time and eat a little healthier, control my portions a bit more, and maybe be a bit more aware of what's going in my body. I appreciate you guys stopping by, and hopefully I can make another one of these for Cook Unity or Factor in maybe the next week or 2 weeks. I'm sorry this isn't the most like lively or like crazy video. We're not cutting here or there. I don't have anything like crazy wild to say. It's just my overall opinion, or some of the quality of the meals leave a lot to be desired for the price you're paying, and that's what I'll say. I don't like the fact that they try to manipulate or deceive you into doing a massive commitment with 40% here, lifetime savings here, just to lock you down for like literally for like $1,000. That's a bit much, especially nowadays with, God, gas is too damn high, etc. Groceries. $200 a week is a lot. $800, $1,000 a month. That is, I mean, some people, that's like half of their disposable income or more. I mean, for some people, that, like, they couldn't even pay half of that and live comfortably. So my takeaway is there are better deals, better bargains, more transparent services, and higher quality, healthier meals you can get. I'm not going to say that these are processed, but I am going to say one more time, there is a reason they're going out of their way not to show you the sodium, not to show you the saturated fats, and not to show you the cholesterol. There is a reason there is no nutritional values table on any one of their products. So thank you guys again, and hopefully we'll see you next time.